6.
The president of France takes a grand tour through New Orleans today, marking a historic visit to the city.
So topics on the table: energy, climate change, and tourism. But Emmanuel Macron's trip is not over yet. WDSU reporter Eli Brand has been following the visit all day. He joins us live with what is happening now and what he's doing right now. Eli?
That's right, guys. We're here live outside the New Orleans Museum of Art, where the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, is speaking inside right now to the Friends of the Francophonie about the French language. We're going to take a live look inside right now, where we believe he is still speaking, and he spoke about the French language. He addressed these people in French, and some of the things he spoke about, obviously I haven't seen the full speech, but I caught the beginning of it. Some of the things he was speaking about is the connection still between France and Louisiana, and he mentioned specifically the French language as keeping that connection going. He mentioned that this place is part of French history. When people write about the history of France, Louisiana will be included. Like I said, he said people are using the French language to keep the history and traditions of French culture here in Louisiana, even after the Louisiana Purchase. He mentioned Cajun and Afro descendants specifically who still speak that language. And one other thing, guys, you know, we've been talking about that band that greeted him coming out of the plane earlier today. He's even mentioned that specifically. We've heard about that at just about every spot. Now he's talking about it himself, so he was obviously a big fan of that. So speaking of what he's done throughout the rest of the day, you can see some of that on your screen right now, some of that video. He arrived here around 12:30, got off of that plane, headed over to Jackson Square, spoke with Mayor LaToya Cantrell of New Orleans, spoke with Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser there before he went over to the Historic Collection of New Orleans over there, spoke with Governor John Bel Edwards, witnessed the signing of a climate change agreement between Governor Edwards and another French official before heading over here to the New Orleans Museum of Art. While we were over there in the French Quarter on Royal Street, we managed to speak with Governor John Bel Edwards about what the French president was telling him about the visit.
He started experiencing our uniqueness as soon as he got off the plane, and then to come to Jackson Square and receive the very warm welcome from the people of Louisiana and New Orleans. And as he moved from Jackson Square over to our meeting space, he told me that meant an awful lot to him. So yeah, he was very pleased with that.
Definitely a warm welcome, and we got that confirmation just a few minutes ago in that speech of how much he did appreciate that New Orleans style welcome he got right there on the tarmac. Tonight at 10, guys, we'll have a full recap of everything that the French president has done here in Louisiana. Now reporting live from City Park, Eli Brand, WDSU News. Guys.
Yeah, certainly a busy and packed day, but getting that warm welcome. Thank you so much, Eli.